Vampire. It's one of Chessington's most famous rides, but the Vampire you ride today is very different from the one that opened over 35 years ago. It once had completely different trains, a much darker theme, and riders were suspended underneath their track with their legs tucked inside the cars. So, what happened to the original Vampire and how did it become to the ride we know today? What is Vampire? Our story starts in 1990. Vampire opened at Chessington World of Adventures as part of the park's Transylvania area, and this wasn't just supposed to be another roller coaster. Chessington wanted an entire experience. Guests entered a creepy Transylvanian village before making their way towards Vampire. The ride was designed by Aerodynamics and was a suspended coaster. But what does suspended actually mean? Unlike a normal coaster, the train sits on top of a track. Vampire's train travelled underneath it, and the cars would swing side to side as the ride travelled around corners. So the faster you went around the turn, the further the train could swing. And because of the track racing through the trees and the landscape, the swinging motion made Vampire feel even more out of control. Basically, the coaster was doing the steering and the train was just along the ride. But one of Vampire's most famous features wasn't even the coaster, it was the station. Inside, guests entered a dark Gothic environment dominated by a huge organ, and sitting at that organ was a robotic figure playing away as the trains departed. Because apparently getting onto a suspended coaster wasn't creepy enough, the music, lighting and scenery helped make the station feel like a part of the attraction rather than simply where you boarded the ride. After leaving the station, Vampire takes you through trees, rather than relying on enormous drops or inversions. Much of the experience comes from the way train moves the landscape. You're flying between the trees, swinging around corners and constantly feeling like the trains works to go somewhere but the track doesn't. And because of the suspended design, the trains can move underneath the track as they travel through each turn. By the end of the 1990s, Vampire was approaching a pretty major change, and in 2001, Vampire closed. But Chessington wasn't getting rid of it, instead they was about to completely change it. Vampire underwent a major refurbishment before reopening in 2002, and one of the biggest changes was obvious the moment you looked at the trains. The original trains were gone. They were replaced with new suspended trains manufactured by Vekoma. These trains gave riders a much more open experience. Instead of sitting in older enclosed-style trains, your legs now hang underneath you. And that's basically the Vampire most visitors recognise today. And if you rode Vampire before 2001, you experienced a version of a ride that completely don't exist anymore. Vampire wasn't the only thing that changed around it. The surrounding area considerably changed over the years as Chessington introduced new attractions and themes. Today, Vampire sits within the Wild Woods area of the park, but despite those changes, Vampire survived. Vampire isn't the tallest coaster in Britain, it isn't the fastest, it hasn't got like 14 versions in the Smiler. In fact, it has none. But that's not why people love it. It's a combination of the old swinging trains, the trees, the station, and decades of history what makes Vampire different. And for loads of people, Vampire was one of their first proper coasters. More than 3 decades after opening, Vampire still is operating at Chessington World of Adventures. The trains have changed, the surrounding area changed, but Chessington itself has changed. But Vampire is still here, and that's pretty impressive for a coaster that opened in 1990. So, what is Vampire? It's a classic suspended roller coaster, a huge part of Chessington's history, and a ride that managed to survive some pretty massive changes. But here's the question. Was the original Vampire better than the version we have today? If you actually rode the original, tell me in the comments because I would love to know what it was like. And where does Vampire ride in the Chessington coaster lineup? Subscribe for more What Is videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
us about the new vampire ride at Chessington.
It's brilliant! The way it swung out!
I did feel scared when it flew over the tree.
I felt sick when I went on it. Looks like Robin was sick.
The vampire is in a new world of adventure at Chessington. It beats the living daylights out of other days out.